But know what you're doing. You've got to learn how to do it, and that's the benefit. These guys are doing it. Alan runs this business. If you want to learn about these things and start mixing with people who know how to do it, go to the grass-fed conference. It is fantastic. These are people who are doing it, and as farmers, you will learn more from those successful farmers than you will learn from any academic. Those are the people you connect with. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm. So I have a specific question too about managing for what you want. And our farm had Johnson grass over Bermuda grass in a lot of areas. And so I find that I move on when the Johnson grass is properly raised, but they don't really touch the Bermuda until the end of the grazing season when the Johnson grass is done, but the Bermuda is still palatable. Is that an okay approach, or?
Not really, because the Johnson grass is holding you back quite a bit. Johnson grass is pretty handy. So having a smaller area that you can concentrate your animals will give you a bit of control on that. But you've only got a couple of species in there. One of the bits of research we're doing now with our farmer guys is we're using cover crops that we sow at this time of the year into the Bermuda grass. That includes wheat and a legume. We've got 15 species that we put down. We use the NRCS mix to actually have extra growing days of green during its winter period before the Bermuda grass comes up in spring. And we believe that we are going to increase the amount of carbon and the amount of nitrogen in that system, so your Bermuda grass will actually be more productive and be more likely to be eaten by the cattle when that comes. So you're getting over that particular selection problem. So that's the way you've got to think in that arena. Getting more species into the mix will help you a lot, and having a shorter grazing period will allow you to do that.
On land that is nutrient deficient, say for instance phosphorus, we have a lot of tickle grass growth.
Yeah.
And phosphorus, I know, moves slowly through the ground if you apply it ourselves. What would be a solution to increase the flow of phosphorus down to the root system in a situation like that?
Unfortunately, we have become used to using chemicals to solve our problems.
Right.
Okay. When you put phosphate on the ground, it's available for half an hour, and then it gets locked up again. And in fact, if you get your biology right, there's enough phosphorus available to the plants around the world. I've just been in a conference where we've been dealing with this stuff, where even in areas that test exceedingly low for phosphorus, you get the biology right, and the plants are getting enough phosphorus. We don't adequately know how to measure these things from a biological point of view, except that if you get the biology right, the plants, when you see how well they're growing, and you test them for the availability of those nutrients, they are there. The problem comes of transitioning from where you are now to getting the biology right where that stuff's taken care of. And that's where you need to meet with people who, soil microbial people who specialize in that sort of thing, and you learn how to transition from one to the other. That's a relatively complex subject, but I know people who are doing it all over the place. And following these rules will move you in that direction. But the one big thing is there's enough of all those nutrients in the ground. You just got to get the biology right, and then they come about. That sounds crazy because of the way all the things we've been taught to believe in. But we've got people doing it now, all over. So you've got to learn how to do that in a small area. Generally, the way to move is to actually take a small portion of your place, learn how to apply those principles, so you're building up the biology, and then just see for yourself. This is what happened. One of the best producers who comes across from South Africa here, Ian Mitchell-Ellis, he runs a fabulous setup. And when he started, he knew he had to increase the number of animals to get the animal densities high. But he didn't know how to cash flow that. So what he did is he only took half of his farm, he moved all the cattle from one half to the other. And then he moved them through pretty much as I showed you there, moving them daily. And after 2 years, he found he needed double the number of animals just on that particular piece of ground. Okay? So that's a real risk-free way of doing it. If he'd run into trouble at any point, he could have gone back to use. After 3 years, he realized he didn't need that. So he leased it out to somebody else to use their cattle. And he has, in 5 years, he increased the number of animals, the animal stocking rate in the area he's managing 4 times. And he's improving his range conditioning and productivity all the while. It works, you just got to learn how to do it.
Could you speak to wildlife management a little more? I guess I have my thoughts on my limited experience, but I'd love to hear some stories.
Yeah, this is something that you actually need a wildlife person to manage that. But last week I was working with a guy in Missouri who was a wildlife specialist. For each species of wildlife that you really want to look after, you need to go to a person who's knowledgeable on that species and find out what do those animals you're interested in, what do you need to incorporate in your grazing plan so that it's going to work for that particular species. And then when you do your grazing plan, you say, in these areas here, you plan during the year, you've got the paddocks and the months. In each of the places where you want your animals to succeed well in, you do those functions appropriate for that time of the year. Like for quail, in May they're going to nest. Where you want your quail to nest, you stay to hang out of that area until they've got the chicks that are starting to run around. So that's the way you can intelligently incorporate the goals, your research, your wildlife goals, and get them to match with your livestock goals. And it's not difficult, you just got to know what you want to aim for and where you want to do it, and then just build that into your plan. Good question. Oh, the other thing too, I have remembered now. The ARS here at, has asked us, as part of the climate hub system that they're starting up, myself and a colleague who are knowledgeable on this kind of grazing, to run a school, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, to teach people how to do all this stuff. So we will be starting that this next year, and we'll be going for 3 years, and we can stay in touch. Anybody who's interested in that sort of stuff. A lot of people are quite wary of a lot of the consultants, like the Savory Institute and stuff like that, because they think they're a little bit radical. But we've learned from it, and we know that most people don't want to be really radical. They want to stay within their means of what they can manage and what they're comfortable with. So that's the way we run the course. We find out where they are now, find out where they want to be, and then say, okay, how do you move from here to here? So that will be, we'll be an intermediate between what's currently being pushed up by the universities and the guys who really are out on a limb. And hopefully we'll find people who are more comfortable with that middle ground.
Anybody else have more questions? I have a couple more.
I've got one.
Okay.
Do you know of anybody that are trying to replicate the same results, cattle using multi-species grazing and paddock shift methods?
I know a few, and the people who do use the holistic management model more or less according to their needs. And many of them are not at the high end, they just do what's comfortable for them. Yes, and they will know, for instance, with deer, they know that when you move your cattle through, at a couple of weeks after you move your cattle out, you've rejuvenated it, and you graze down, but the regrowth is coming back in the paddock. The deer go to their spot that they like, and they tend to follow pretty much a couple of weeks behind where the cattle go. In other words, that's where they want to be, and by choice they're moving to that area. So when you do it and you see that sort of thing happening, that's when you keep notes. So this year they were like this, and this year they were like this. So you understand how the grazing of the cattle impacts the species you're interested in. And that way you learn, and for your property, your goals, you develop something really good. Answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, but there's also the part where you're not running cattle, and let's say, you don't have the acreage to sustain cattle. You just want to go with, let's say, lamb, or you're doing poultry, but you're kind of incorporating multiple species to try and get that same reduction from the grass, just doing it over different species. know if there's anybody actually trying to do that.
I believe there are, but I don't know of them. The majority of people we're getting are managing larger capital operations because that's the majority of what's going on. But what you're talking about now has huge potential. And there's so many people following the basic model of Joel Salatin. By stacking the businesses, you are being extraordinarily successful at achieving their goals and also improving the ecology of the land. And that combined with marketing directly to the public is a model that works extremely well. And that's where a lot of small producers can learn a lot from that sort of thing. The organic farmers around the world, I work very closely with the International Organic Farmers Association, where they're trying to develop production models and marketing models where it facilitates the smaller farmer creating markets for the people close by them. So you decrease costs and you provide, and there's feedback between them. So, that last batch of eggs was good or not so good, can you change like this? So you develop that sort of dialogue and those systems back. And I believe that is the best way to achieve a more sustainable regenerative agriculture than is the current industrial model that we've got. And it's also socially much more acceptable too. The majority of people around the world are just small little operations. And there is, in terms of social stability, a person who owns a small piece of land himself and manages it, him or herself, lots of people like that, is a much more socially stable situation than a couple of people owning lots of land and everybody being employed at low wages and stuff, where you've got no control of anything at all. But it's like that sort of situation. So, as a nation,